We felt a strong application. We've gotten lots of letters of support from elected officials around the area, so we feel really good. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that, we should know something hopefully by the end of April, whether we get the grant or not, but we feel optimistic to get at least some of it. But in the meantime, we are currently advertising and filling slips at the marina. We've got the online DACWA system set up. Staff is working through that with leasees and the licensees, trying to get those, with any help they need and make it smoother. And there've been improvements made, including an added dock box and a new pump station added. Next up, Dave is going to, as you know, the Hamlet Public Restrooms and Ocean Rescue was supposed to be planned for construction this year. It's been delayed till September. We've got a temporary layout, and as you can see up here, there's going to be an office in the area, a convex office that's already been in place where lifeguards can come in and out of the sun on their breaks and lunch and take place. And then there's storage on the side where the four-wheelers and all the other equipment can be stored. And they also have the porta potty trailer and the showers. This will have ADA accessible versions of those too. And then we hope to start construction on the new one in September. So we'll be able to move forward next year and have it ready to go. Next, a quick update, and I know we've heard all about this a lot every time we turn on the news, but coronavirus. If you didn't know, the governor just recently today declared a state of emergency. Chief Spivey and I attended an emergency preparedness meeting with the county yesterday. At that time, they had 2 cases, but overnight 5 more cases reported in North Carolina, none at this time in New Hanover County. But they are keeping us updated. In fact, we just had a press release that they are encouraging social distancing in large events, especially for people that are of certain ages or underlying health issues, that they encourage you to stay away from large events. They also are strongly suggesting following best practices, hand washing, elbow bumps and fist bumps and things like that. And they also strongly suggested if you feel like you have symptoms to call ahead to your doctor or the health department before going in so they can protect those and not, they're there so you don't expose people to that. And we've got plenty of information on our website and links to the CDC, links to the county so you can get updates, and we encourage everybody to go there. And finally, census is coming up, and we know how important it is to get everyone counted in Carolina Beach. So Jeremy and the planning staff have come up with a sort of a logo that will be running on our billboard and other places, and that's just give you a preview of that. And that's all I have, and answer any questions on anything.
No, but I just want to say that's a great job you guys applying for the Golden Leaf Grant. I mean, that would be awesome if Town of Carolina Beach could get that to repair our marina. So thank you for doing that, and hopefully we'll know something soon on that. So, good job. Anything else?
You too.
Okay.
You hit that one right on the head. Just appreciate the urgency around
Absolutely.
because we waited for a long time for the FEMA. We understand the issues there, but the sense of urgency you guys have put on getting that moving is fantastic. Appreciate it.
Very good. Okay, so we're going to move into public comment. You'll have 3 minutes to address council. If any of you, as you know, we have some public hearings tonight. If any of your comments are concerning the public hearings, you may want to wait till that item comes up. So, but if it's not, you can come up now. You can come up now either way, but if it's related to any of the nonprofit presentations or the other 2 CUPs tonight, then you can wait till that time if you'd like to address it. So the first person is Kevin Fritzginger. I know I always say that wrong, Kevin. Come up and let us know about sailboats. I'm kind of guessing that's.
Yes, my name is Kevin Fritzginger, 1319 Canal Drive, and I'm just kind of curious as to what's happened in the past 30 days since last month. Have we made any progress on anything?
I will defer.
On the sailboat, on the marina? Are we still just at a stalemate, or nothing's happening?
I don't know of anything that's
Yeah, I
happened.
mean, we just discussed it at the workshop a couple weeks ago, and we are working on it. Same as Aaron, it's been, we got the dock on the mooring balls and trying to get everything there, and Ed may know a little more than I do on this, but.
We haven't forgotten.
I think at the
I know,
last
I'm just going to keep coming every
I,
month.
I,
just
I,
make-
and
make
that's
my
I appreciate
presence.
that.
You know, I want to make sure that it still keeps rolling, because it's getting to that point now where the weather's starting to get nice, and the boats are going to start rolling in, and people are going to start living on them. I mean, it did clear up for a few months because it got cold and it was a little too cold to be living out on your boat, but the weather's starting to get nice now, and this time of the year is when they're going to start rolling in and start.
And we do have our harbor master in place now, so I believe that he will be monitoring the harbor
Okay.
more directly than in the past.
I believe Ms. Fox told us last time that we were waiting on enabling legislation. I assume nothing has happened in Raleigh related to that, or no change since the last.
You're correct. I have been working with staff to develop an ordinance that is within the enabling legislation that the town has, and I believe that we are going to be discussing that at the March 17th workshop. Ed, is that right?
Okay. So if you can make that,
Okay.
that'd be great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
Joe Needham and Denise Anderson? You want to wait? Okay. All right. Ben Say?
Hi, Ben Say, 608 Charlotte. This is really minor. I think it's probably directed more at Ed. So on Charlotte, starting Monday, there was construction begun under for Haneker's Ditch to be improved. On 6th and 7th, there were these street closure signs set up, and Waste Management didn't make the pickup today for all of the homes on Charlotte. So what recourse do I have, or can you help?
We just need to know if there's a problem with your waste pickup. You can go on our website and put in a notice, or you can call us up and just let us know that your address, and we'll make sure that Waste Industries gets out there.
So I'm sure it's because of the road closure signs, because of the construction being done on Charlotte?
Maybe. Yeah.
I assume the driver just looked at it and drove on by. That's my assumption.
Right.
But I would guess that's the case.
And Ben, we hear you. So 608 Charlotte Avenue.
And
Okay, so they're writing down. They're writing it. So we got you, and we'll make a call tomorrow.
Well, it's all of the homes on that block.
Got you, the whole street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Would anyone else like to speak? You don't have to sign up. If you want to come up and state your name and address, you can still speak.
About any topic.
Okay. Okay, come on up.
Come on up, Skip.
I might have to set the timer on this one.
Good evening, Skip Sprague, 102 Island Palms, Carolina Beach. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm just going to make just a brief comment about was one of the consent agenda pieces, and it is the 12-unit plan development that is to take place at 522 North 7th Street. It's been the consent of our neighbors that in your consideration for this CUP, we are feeling that it is definitely not in keeping with our neighborhood. It's a 12-unit plan, small driveway. It's going to impact our traffic on 7th Street.
Is this a CUP? This will be a CUP next month? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want you to disqualify all of us, so hang on just.
If you're speaking about one of the CUPs that's on the agenda tonight, I would encourage you to wait until that hearing is called.
Okay, then I'm out of turn then. All right, thank you.
So, and thanks, Skip. And just for the public, so you're sitting here, anytime there's a CUP, council cannot have communications with the public until it's presented at council, or it will disqualify all of us from a vote. So, and I know you don't want that. It's not that we don't want to hear it. It's just that we want to be able to vote when that issue comes before us.
Just for clarification, he was talking about the one that was on the consent agenda for 522 North 7th Street.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's going to be heard next month.
And that is a CUP?
Yes,
Okay.
and tonight we should hear nothing about that during public comment.
And we heard nothing.
Correct.
Okay, so we will move into our public hearings. And can I get a motion to open our public hearings? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the first one will be, we're going to hear from our nonprofits who would like to have some money from our general fund. And the first one on the list is the Carolina Beach Inlet Association. Are you here?
I am.
Oh, there you are. Thought I saw you.
Thank you. I'm Jarvis Wise, the president of the Carolina Beach Inlet Association. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council members. Carolina Beach Inlet Association requests funds this year in an amount of $7,500 to continue to implement our educational goals. Our organization continues to demonstrate the benefits of the Carolina Beach Inlet to New Hanover County and surrounding areas. We do this through a number of ways. One, we hold regular meetings at 1500 Bridgeberry Road, the first Tuesday in the month at the American Legion Hall in Carolina Beach. The CBIA works closely with the United States Corps of Engineers to support keeping the Carolina Beach Inlet open and safe for all boaters. The CBIA informs New Hanover County Commissioners of the need for inlet safety. The CBIA meets with the New Hanover County erosion control engineer to ensure safety and other economic resources. The CBIA regularly attends the MOA meetings with state and affiliate groups. The CBIA supports the United States Coast Guard in their inlet oversight. The CBIA promotes educational public and local officials educating on conditions and needs of the inlet. The CBI has several fundraising events, such as functions for Seafood Blues Festival, Jazz Festival, Step Up for Soldiers. We have Chowder Cook-Off, Gatamon, Carolina Beach Fire Department King Mackerel Tournament, the Carolina Beach Chowder Cook-Off, which requires various items, such as tents, brochures, banners, and posters. The Carolina Beach Inlet Association is a nonprofit 501c3 educational organization. Our goal is to educate the public and politicians on the importance of keeping North Carolina's shallow depth inlets dredged for safe navigation. Thanks to the town of Carolina Beach for your cooperation in the past. I appreciate it. That's all I got for you. You got any questions?
Thank you, Jarvis.
Okay, thank you.
Next is the Federal Point Historical Preservation Society. Are you here? Hey, come on up.
Honorable Mayor and Council, my name is Darlene Bright, and I live at 407 Canal Drive, and I'm the director of the Federal Point History Center, which is a volunteer position, and we are located right next door. And first off, I'd like to thank you for your past support. We would not be where we are if it weren't for all that you've done for us. And this year, I'm asking again for $9,000, which would be used specifically for the operation of the History Center. We're open 3 days a week, Tuesday, Fridays, and Saturdays from 10 to 4. We have 2 contract staffers that keeps the place open and keeps it going for us. And so that money would be used for the utilities and part of their pay. And I'd like to invite everybody to our meetings. We have a meeting every 3rd Monday of the month where speakers come in and talk on different subjects pertinent to the area. This month, on the 16th, John Mosley, which is the assistant site manager down at Fort Fisher, is going to come and speak about the women in the military during World War II. He's trying to get a marker for a highway marker for that. So, on March the 21st, as was said, we having a ceremony of the Walk of Fame. We got 3 honorees we're putting plaques out there for, so we invite everybody to that. Also on the 20th.
Tell us who it is?
Huh?
You gonna tell us who it is?
No.
And for the public, we
You have
never
to-
know. We don't
you
know
have to
either.
come.
So, yeah.
And also on the 21st, Dr. Chris Fonville will be doing his walk-in tour of the Sugarloaf line of trenches again this year. And we invite you for that, but wear a really good pair of shoes and be in shape to go for about, well, I went one year, it was about 3 hours, and I thought I was going to die before I got back. But he's really good. And he will include the tour of the Joseph Ryder Lewis Civil War Park that we're working with the town on developing that. We'll hope to have that open pretty soon. So he will include that in this year's tour. Also, we publish a monthly newsletter, and We started our boardwalk walking tour, historic walking tour, a couple of years ago, and that has really grown, and we're getting more groups that call and want some, a time for themselves. We would like to use that, if we could get the extra money, use it to open an additional day, and also to freshen up our existing exhibits, which have not been changed since we opened in 2001. And also, we'd like to add a couple more exhibits and maybe give our contractors a little bit of a raise. They haven't had one the whole time we've been here. So I thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Does anybody have any questions? Darlene, did you submit a package? Okay, I'll look at that. And we get your emails every month, I think.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Friends of Feline?
Hi, I'm Denise Anderson. This is Joey Needham. I live at 1007 Waterview on the island. We're representing Friends of Felines, following up on our request for $2,000 for continuing to trap, spay, neuter, vaccinate, and release feral cats on the island. We work with another group, the Pleasure Island Paws, to keep the cats under control. We're in a really good place right now. We've done quite a lot the last year, and we're a group of 4 unpaid volunteers. All money goes directly towards the veterinarian costs to get that done.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have one, just in terms of numbers, like, I'm just not familiar with how much of this happens. Can you give us, like, how many cats do you assist every year? And I don't expect the exact number, I'm just trying.
On Carolina Beach or overall?
Wow.
We do all of New
Actually?
Hanover County, but the monies you give go directly.
Right.
Just last week, I did 7 cats on Raleigh Avenue, so,
Wow.
yeah.
In New Hanover County last year, we did almost 1,200 cats, and we took out countless kittens. Like through my hands, it was over 200 kittens that ended up going to like Adopt an Angel, all 4 cats, the adoption groups, because we tamed them. Denise is a great foster, and so we tamed them in that and get them out as long as they're small enough. But yeah, it's a very large problem. Carolina Beach used to have a very large problem. Loretta, who is with the Pleasure Island Paws, she does, the boardwalk, and she had a whole bunch, and it's now down to a minimal, but it's kind of maintaining, and like she said, she just did 7.
Maybe 20 a month.
Yeah.
Thank you, because that, you showed how clueless I was. You answered, thank you for that
It
question.
ebbs and flows.
Right.
We're right in kitten season right now, so we are really out and about on the streets trying to get to people, get the cats, the female cats in before the kittens are born, and keep that number, the reproduction numbers down, because that's where we get behind, and we're just chasing.
Would you consider doing coyotes?
Honestly, the coyotes have helped our cause a bit. Unfortunately, we
Touche.
get lots of calls for lost
Touche.
cats too, and
point.
probably
Yeah.
they didn't fare well that way.
Yeah. We wish we did coyotes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a bigger trap.
Friends of Fort Fisher? Anybody here from Friends of Fort Fisher? Island of Lights? I thought I saw you back there.
Mayor, council members, I'm Frances Massey. I'm president of the Island of Lights. I live at 403 Donsey Court here on the beach. Here this year to ask for $5,000 like we did last year. This goes to help buy new displays or do some of our events like the fireworks, the parade, those kind of things. Also want to thank the various departments that help us, from the events, the police department, Parks and Rec. We get a lot of help from all of those folks. So we're going into our 30th year, which is amazing to me, and I've been there every one of them. So we're looking forward to a good year. Y'all have any questions?
I do, actually. So I'm new to this game.
Okay.
Mosca Design.
Mhm.
What exactly is that?
They are the people that we buy our displays from, and I got a feeling they're probably the same people that you guys get your displays that are on the poles at Christmas.
Okay, gotcha. Also, there's a pretty large expense for Atlantic Cost Auto.
Who?
Atlantic Cost Auto, about
No,
$1,500.
We've not done an auto.
Okay. That's okay. We can review it later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at that. Any more questions?
Nope.
Yeah, I'd like to know about that too. Because
Yeah,
I don't think
we'll
it costs all that.
we'll look at it. And we'll discuss all this when we have our budget meetings. We'll go over it in more detail in our budget meetings. But thank you for 30 years, Francis. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's a hard-working lady. A lot of the things we have at Carolina Beach associated with the Christmas that Island Lights do wouldn't have happened. So we thank you. Pleasure Island Paws. Anybody here from Pleasure Island Paws? Pleasure Island Sea Turtle Project. I see you over there, Nancy.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I am Nancy Basavny, 507 Jarrett Bay Drive, Carolina Beach. I have been the Endangered Species Permit holder and president of the Sea Turtle Project since 2004. We are requesting the same amount of funds that we have for several years now, $1,100 a month, starting on May 1st, which is when the season starts, and going on through the end of the season. We use the money for all the supplies, the nesting materials for the turtles, the ATV rentals, gas for them, pretty much everything we need to run the project all summer long. We've got about 200 hardworking volunteers out there doing the job day and night through storms and everything else. And yeah, we're just excited to begin another season. We average, for Jay and Lynn, you may not be familiar with us, we average about 10 or 12 nests a season. And we are out there, we start doing patrol in May, start looking for those nests, and the hatchings can go on into October. So, yeah, it's a really good project, and we pretty much are turnkey, do everything for the island sea turtles, including stranding, transporting them up to the hospital, and pretty much anything else you can think of. So, and I would like to give a shout out to the Carolina Beach Police. Their support in the summer has just been fantastic. I've spent many a late nights with them out on the beach, sometimes till dawn, and they really do a good job looking out for the turtles.
Any questions? I have a question. Are you concerned with the upcoming season with the coyote?
We actually, in Curie Beach, had a couple of nests get predated. So what we did, we switched from the plastic mesh that we use. We actually made our own metal cage and put on the nest, and there were no problems after that.
And that was going to be my question. I saw over at Bald Head they had quite a few things that the conservatory was putting out for protection of the nest. And do you speak with them and trade ideas and that kind of thing?
Well, I don't approve of some of the things they're doing in Bald Head, and I kind of don't want to go there with our coyotes.
Yeah, I see on there on the website there's that mesh that you're talking about over the net over the nest.
Yeah, Fort Fisher, actually, we got advice from them on how to make the cages. They have been using them down there as well, and those have proven really effective. So right now, that's pretty much what we're doing.
And you're going to put them on all of them?
Probably not. We're just going to see what pockets are getting predated. There was just that one area in Curie Beach that had an active coyote that was coming on the beach. Just became aware this week of a coyote trotting down toward the north end, so we'll definitely be watching that area as well. We can see the signs that they are on the beach, and if we think it's going to be a problem, we'll just do a metal cage.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
The Senior Center? See anybody here from the Senior Center? Okay. Does anybody from the public want to make a comment on any things they've heard tonight? Okay. And just so you know, we don't approve or disapprove tonight. These are just presentations. We have a package we'll go through during the budget process. We'll look at everything, and we'll see what Bruce says, how much money we have to give away. So we'll go from there. But we'll make sure everybody's taken care of as best we can. So I'll make a motion to close this public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
So the next item on our agenda is to consider a conditional use permit located at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for a business plan unit development by Bryant Real Estate. If anybody, is there anyone at this time that intends to speak would come up and get sworn in? Right up here with Ms. Ward will swear you in. If you think you might want to speak on the topic, you have to be sworn in.
Aren't we using the phones for?
Trash can.
Okay, and at this time, I'll make a motion to open the evidentiary hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm going to ask our town attorney, Noel Fox, to make some comments on the process.
Mayor, council, as you know, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. It means it's an evidentiary hearing, much like we would have in a court of law. That means that you as a board have to follow very specific procedures required by state law in making your decision tonight. While the rules of evidence don't strictly apply in these types of hearings, we do try to adhere to the rules of evidence. All the testimony that you're going to hear tonight must be competent, relevant, and substantial. You are required to make your decision on competent, relevant, and substantial evidence that is in the record. If you're speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. If you intend to testify, please not offer unsupported opinions or speculation because the council cannot consider this testimony. You must limit your testimony to relevant, competent, substantial, and material evidence. Competent evidence is not opinion testimony of lay witnesses about the use of the property in a particular way and how it would affect the value of other property, the increase in vehicular traffic resulting from a proposed use and how it would pose a danger to public safety, nor matters about which only expert testimony would generally be admissible in the rules of evidence. Before we begin the hearing, the parties before you tonight are entitled to have this matter adjudged by an impartial decision maker. If you have a conflict of interest, you must not participate. A conflict of interest exists if you have a close familial, business, or other relationship with an affected person or a financial interest in the outcome of this matter. Does any member of the board have any conflict, partiality to disclose, and recusal to offer?
No.
Does any board member have any ex parte communications to disclose?
No.
Mr. Barbie?
Not on this one.
Oh, okay, thank
Next
you.
one.
All right. All right.
Problem child.
Okay. All right, so we will have our staff presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I have one more
I
thing.
was wondering if you...
Sorry, my bad. Is there anybody for this matter other than the applicant who believes that they have legal standing to participate as a party in this matter?
And Ms. Fox, can you explain what that is? Because this is a little different. The
Yes.
standing.
Parties that have standing have to be able to show that they have special damages. So we have had one hearing in the 12 years that I've been the council. It was January 14th where we had a standing hearing. Generally, that is not something we address, but I thought I would ask. So seeing nobody, I would say take it away, Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Council. Happy to be in front of you. Is this the first time for 2020? I can't remember. No? Did one already?
Were you not here for the all-nighter?
Were we? You know, I may have, me personally in front of y'all.
Oh.
Yeah, I think thankfully I was able to skip that one. You know, perks of being a little lower on the totem pole, I guess.
Oh,
All
you're
right.
lucky.
I'm here to present a conditional use permit for a business plan unit development at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for you this evening. First of all, we're just going to take a nice little look here at where 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard is, if anyone is unfamiliar. This is what the overall site plan is going to be for the project. First of all, have you point out that in the highway business plan unit developments are permitted by conditional use permit. They are permitted with a no max density, maximum of 60% lot coverage, 50 feet in height, standard setbacks for the highway business district. What you see in the center of your screen are the parking calculations related to the project. They have 2 office spaces and warehouse space being proposed, which requires a total of 22 spaces for office space and 1 space for the warehouse parking. The height of the proposed structure is a maximum of 24 feet at this time, and the lot is 39,799 square feet, giving them plenty of space to accommodate both of these structures. You can also see on the site plan that the planned unit development for a business park here requires a 10-foot landscape buffer, as well as fencing buffering it from any residential properties. In addition, they have 25 feet on the left, on the right, and I believe 25 feet in the rear, but I have that on an upcoming slide so we can verify that. Does anyone have any questions about the site plan while we're looking at it?
I just want to make sure I have my bearings.
Yes,
correct.
by all means.
So the offices at the top of your graph that are being built, that is on the property between that front building,
So-
and I think there's 2 adjoining homes back there?
Yes, so if we
Behind that?
go back to the previous slide here, this is empty space currently,
Right.
and it's going to be transitioned to office, office, and warehouse.
Okay, I got it.
Mhm.
Just want to make sure.
Is that clear to everyone?
Crystal.
All right. Any other questions on the site plan before we move on? Okay. So these are some proposed elevation renderings so you can get an idea of what the structure will look like. You'll essentially have 3 fronts there with 2 office space in the warehouse. The warehouse will feature a second level, hence the 24-foot height for the proposed structure. The warehouse is proposed to be primarily used for laundry space related to Bryant Real Estate's activities. So this is the current status of 1230 North Lake Park. They have their primary operating building. They have the large empty lot, and this is what it looks like from across Lake Park, just in case you haven't been driving in and out of town recently. The adjacent properties, we have commercial property to the north and south of it. And then we also have the Moorfield properties, which is primarily 101 and 103 Moorfield, which will actually back it, but there is 100 and 102. 102 is not featured in any of my photos. The 4 general conditions, business PUDs are permitted in highway business, and the zoning standards are being followed by this project. The proposed CUP meets all the requirements, and they are not asking for any waivers or modifications. The proposed use conforms with the highway business zoning district and will be buffered from adjacent residential properties appropriately. And the future land use plan includes this in the commercial 1 districts, which emphasizes highway business corridor, which will allow for single-family residential, but is mostly focused on commercial enterprises, retail office, restaurant, entertainment, and services, which this proposed business PUD would be working towards. Ingress and egress will be off of Risley the same way it is now. There may be slight modifications to the pre-existing parking, but that's simply to accommodate necessary handicap parking by the addition of a second business structure. Addition, they have met all of their parking for both the primary structure and the secondary structure they are proposing. Trash service will not be altered. Stormwater and utilities will be dealt with by the in-ground system they already have in place, and anything else will be directed towards Risley Road, but they believe they have enough stormwater already in place from their initial development. There will be a minimum of a 10-foot landscaping buffer around the second building, which is proposed, and they already have 5 feet or more of landscaping around the rest of the property from initial development. There is no additional signage proposed at this time. Any signage they would propose would just have to come back to the town for a general sign permit and would be evaluated at that time. And there is no required yard or open space beyond general zoning requirements for a PUD. So we're looking at a minimum of 15 between structures, which they meet, a minimum of 10% open space, which they meet. They're below 60% lot coverage given the size of that lot. And their front setback for the secondary structure is substantial. Their rear is 25 feet of the required 20. and their sides are both 25 feet of the required 12.5 and 7.5. So staff recommends the approval of this proposed business CUP, and Planning and Zoning voted 5-0 in favor of the approval of the proposed business CUP. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you may have, as well as I believe the applicant is here tonight as well.
Any questions for Miles?
I have none.
Okay. Would the applicant like to address council?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Colin Tarrant. I'm an attorney with Block, Crouch, and Keeter in Wilmington. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Bryant Real Estate. It's our application for a conditional use permit for a business plan unit development. As staff has pointed out, and I don't need to basically repeat everything that staff said, is that we've satisfied all the requirements as laid out in the ordinance, the specific requirements in the ordinance that deal with the business plan unit development, as well as the general requirements that are incorporated into the ordinance and laid out in the general statutes of North Carolina. We would at this time like to request that the staff's report be entered into the record if there's no objection to that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out that Mr. Mark Bryant is here on behalf of the applicant. He's available to answer any questions that any of you may have as it pertains specifically to the project itself, any of his plans for that property. He'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Phil Tripp is also here with Tripp Engineering. He's able to answer more of the technical questions if the board would like to ask any of the technical questions that pertain to the proposed project that we stand before you here today. As I've stated, we meet the requirements. We've appeared before the planning board back in January. The planning board has voted unanimously to recommend approval to the board of the project. As I stated, we're happy to answer any questions you may have, and we respectfully request that you approve our application.
Council, any questions?
I'm cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Would anyone from the public like to comment on this project? Okay, well, I'll make do we have any more questions for staff?
Nope.
All right, I'll make a motion that we'll close the evidentiary hearing. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Council, discussion?
I love it when they're clean like this one.
I just know around, I know there's a bunch of live oaks over there, and part of it is the preservation of the live oaks. Just, I love our trees, and I don't want to see anything happen to those. Also, is the front of the building, is that corrugated metal?
Ms. Fox, can we have him come back up and answer that question after we close the hearing?
Yes, well, you.
Okay, we'll reopen the public hearing and have you come up and answer that question. All in favor?
I'm sorry about that. All right.
Yeah, okay, it's okay.
So it is going to be a pre-engineered metal building, the superstructure of it.
Right.
The bottom of it, we're trying to tie in the same architecture. There's going to be an overhang to match the wraparound porch of our building, and then the bottom half is going to have that oyster tabby shell stuff.
Nice. By the way, that building is magnificent.
Thank you.
It is. It's fantastic.
And to Jay's point, we would just ask that if any preservation of the trees could happen, we would ask that you be considerate
We
of
are
that.
looking forward to that. Those 3 trees were the reasons we bought the lot.
Right.
We wanted to put the building behind
Right,
there.
fantastic.
In fact, when we went out to have a tree company come and do some aeration, try and make them more healthy, we had probably 14 people pull in. You can't cut these trees down. We're like,
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
Any more questions while he's up here? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the CUP located at 1230 North Lake Park Boulevard for the business plan unit development for Bryant Real Estate, that it is consistent with the 7 specific standards and 4 general conditions and consistent with the land use plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Nice project, guys. We appreciate it.
All right, so give me a second here and I'll get the.
So we're going to move into the next conditional use permit, and that is to consider permit located at 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard, Unit 2, detached business plan unit development. And any individuals who will want to speak on this topic need to come and be sworn in just like before.
Mayor, would it be okay if we took a 5-minute recess to do some bookkeeping real quick?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we'll take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 7:28.
7:32.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
No, I'm just kidding.
I guess.
Okay. I didn't hear her, but whatever she says goes.
Where would it be, Jeremy?
It's part of the application.
I'm looking at it
I
right
mean,
here.
clean. Kim, I was looking at these dates for the budget workshop. Will you email us or give us invitations?
Yeah, he said he's good here.
Checks. I need to get this in my
He called
phone.
today and said he had neck surgery and asked if we could move it up. And I told him that we can't move it up. You know, like you're going to have to either come for the whole time or get someone to tell you when to come to be here. And I had it, and he said, well, can I come talk to Kim about it? And I said, yeah, you can talk to Kim about it.
See, I don't, I have county workshop.
Are you familiar with Spartanburg Avenue?
Maybe I do have,
He never
okay.
told me
Ripped out about 10 minutes.
No, he asked if we could move it up because he didn't think he could sit here for 3 hours.
Yeah, they ripped out about 10
I think he never told me
We
that.
would have to table it.
3 times.
Kim,
Have
Kim, is April 1?
15 feet.
The applicant had an emergency.
No, put in like little stairs, but it looks like, okay, they're making parking for golf carts down there.
Is
The only
April
thing
1 the
is,
first date the website
Now
will
you don't
get
get a original.
someone fly up to that damn thing.
Will it be?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, right on.
Thank you so
Check.
much. That's when it gets started. Do you know when it closes?
Exactly.
How the steps are counted and the location of the.
Thanks.
Okay. Only question and answer.
Well, he never told us that he could. He said he could be here.
He never said he could. He never said he could. I just asked if he could
Good.
move it up. And I said,
Pretty
well, I can't control that, but my brother can.
He's the applicant. He has to.
Oh, no, I'm doing okay on that. I jumped in last week. I put a shit of money in.
The date's the time to do it.
Right at the end. Yeah, it is. I don't know if I can bottom line. They're still down a little bit. They should just. I'm pretty close. I think I was looking at it earlier. I don't know. I don't really.
How's it going?
Good, all right? Haven't seen you forever.
You can't get around this. No, I don't know my buddies.
That's what I figured out. I was looking, I thought it was not there and I realized it was.
You look like you're about to go ahead.
That has to reference Ralph. It's not here. He has to be here by state law or attorney or a signed agent. He doesn't have
An attorney? He doesn't have an attorney?
No, so he has to be here. He said he'd be here at 7:30.
Well, it's not quite 7:30.
What we can do is move to the next item, have the next item.
Well, you realize that's parking.
Right, that's fine.
Okay.
We can have that item, and after that item, if he shows up, we
Okay,
can hear it.
okay, okay.
If he doesn't show, we'll have to push it.
Do I have to make a motion on that? Or do I have to ask for a motion to do that?
Yes, to,
Okay.
move the item, whatever item it is, to
Okay, hold on one more minute. Well, let's give them one more minute in case somebody went to the restroom.
Might clear the room. It's a good set. Let's see. Is there something wrong with the screen? Blanket? Yeah, blanket.
Okay, we'll get started again. And what we're discussing for the audience is the applicant is not here, and he needs to be here to move forward with the CUP. So I'm going to ask council if we can move on to item 7A, the parking discussion. If the applicant shows up, we'll have him heard. But I would like to motion that we change those two agenda items. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay. That would be easy. Okay, Mayor Council, I am going to walk through the parking changes that are being proposed. Rather than putting those on a PowerPoint slide, I've had, staff did a great job putting those on a interactive map that we are going to display with whatever's adopted on our website. So I think this is a great tool for visitors, residents alike to see exactly where our parking is and how it's laid out in Carolina Beach. So you'll see the different colors on the map and the legend over describing what those are. Your Lake Park Boulevard corridor here is all the yellow, and that is your metered at $3 an hour and with a 2-hour limit. So those are areas where we're encouraging turnover for those businesses. You also have the magenta area here, which operates the same, but we're have been very successful with and are continuing to move forward with Park Mobile, and that's our app that we have in Carolina Beach, and it's being used more and more in Carolina Beach, and other communities are using that app and similar apps, and so we are using that in this area, and hopefully in a little bit more and more as we move forward with our parking program throughout the years. So you'll see the orange area. The orange areas are areas where we see more folks not going to businesses, but they are going to try to enjoy the beach for the day. So the orange areas are typically the areas where you are near a beach access or at a beach access up and down the beach. So those are your metered spaces, and then you have 3 different colors for your parking lots. Your red parking lots, as you see here, are the ones that are $3 an hour, $17 a day. You have 3 of those throughout town, which is right here in front of Hangton Grill. There is another one on the west side of the town marina, and then the third one is up at the parking office up on Canal Drive. And the majority of your lots are the green, and those lots are there's one here, but they're all throughout your downtown area, and there's a few going up on the north end. Those would be your $5 an hour, $20 a day lots. And then we have a few that are free, where we're encouraging some turnover. So like at your lake and your community building are 2-hour parking throughout the day. So that's the general layout of our parking. Again, we're excited about bringing this tool to Carolina Beach, and so you can have more visibility of what our parking looks like. This will be available on our website under visitors, and then our parking program is where you'd find it.
Well, back up.
Yes, sir.
What are all these ones along the ocean? 234, 36, 302? Where you have all the green ones, do they have the addresses on them?
So this is areas where we do not have a parking contract yet, but the staff went ahead and put those on there where we're hoping to get a parking contract. So that would be, we do work with private owners throughout the spring in anticipating of the parking season to try to bring more parking to the town. Last year, this was run by a private company, and we're trying to work with them to bring that in as a town lot. So there are several on here that, let's see, that we're looking to bring on or have brought on, but we'll have that cleaned up. I'm going down here back to the south end. This one here, Jeremy's pointing out to me, is 400 Carolina Beach Avenue South. That is one that we just brought on this week. So we'll be upfitting that lot for 20 parking places over the next week or two. And there's a few others that we're talking to and hoping to bring lots on. So that's a good point. There are other companies out there that are charging for parking, and we're trying to make that very clear for the community that what the town's lots are versus private lots.
What are the hurdles, Ed, that you and staff are facing when you try and get a private lot under our management and revenue share? Why are we losing them to third parties? What's the hurdle?
Last year, the pricing scheme that we had this year is consistent with what we saw last year. And we don't know what that will be for the private lots this season, but we lost them because the private lots could bring in more revenue because they were charging a higher rate. And if you're a private lot, you're going to, and that's one reason we don't know about the lot you pointed out over here on the north end. It really depends on what you do here tonight. If you're consistent with these rates, I think I don't know, but I think the owner would be willing to work with us. If you do a lower rate tonight, then you'll probably see that go back to the private sector again. So that's the challenge that we're facing. We're starting to lose those lots to private.
Because they're charging more and the owner can earn more through a revenue share with a private third-party group than what
Yes.
we're willing to offer?
One way or another, they're going to be at that rate, right? It's whether we operate it or private.
And is there also the concern, I've had a couple of them tell me one of the concern is they lose revenue when we honor the town pass. If it fills up with free parking, they don't earn that revenue. Is that a concern?
That is a concern that a lot of them have brought to us is we do also take passes in all of our lots. So that's something we're looking at too as options.
And
some of the private lots.
have you had more out of this general business area? Have you started looking at other lots, or do we have, what are requirements if a person wants to convert their lot to a parking lot, a private individual? What do they have to do?
So we've been working with Lanier to try to identify some of those. If we and the one that I showed you down by the lake is one that we identified and reached out to the property owner and asked them if they'd be interested in doing some parking there. Really, we're looking at the lots. Is it in a good proximity to where people want to go to the beach? Is it a lot that's graded fairly well, is fairly accessible? So we're looking at those types of things. If there's a lot like that, then yeah, this is a good candidate for us to look at for
Are you concerned about private lot individuals doing special event parking if, Thursday night some guy wants to let people park in his yard on Cape Fear and charge them $5? I mean, what's the town policy on that? If we have a 4th of July and a homeowner decides they have room for 15 cars and they want to charge $10 a person? I mean, what's our policy on that?
So right now, we do allow for the temporary lots, but we only allow it in our central business district. So if somebody wanted to charge for parking right now, our town code, I don't think it's in our zoning.
I'm just talking about a once in a while kind of thing.
Right.
You know, special event, I'm thinking of a couple of 4th of July fireworks when it's really crowded and Mark decides he wants to park a bunch of people in his driveway and charge them $10 a piece like you do when you go to the ball game.
Right now, under our special event ordinance, we don't have that built in. So if somebody wanted to do something like that, I think they
I'm
would.
not encouraging, I just want to know what happens at that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Trying, Mark.
If you want to come back and change the code, then yes, you can do that.
No, I'm saying by the time you enforce it, the night will be over. Which is fine. Okay.
So you're saying we don't have anything?
Nothing in play yet.
Right.
And you're talking about like at State Fair and places like that, the way the houses run out their yard. Okay. Well, we can talk about that.
Well, I'm thinking when Jay's in the Lost Boys, everyone's going to want to come see him.
That's a good point, Steve.
It is.
Okay, what else?
Ed, can you go back to the map and hit, so you hit the, I got to get your color scheme right. So the near the
Can you back
ocean
out a little
lot. So
bit?
the idea was to have
Light yellow, dark orange.
graduated parking as much as we could, although most of our lots are very close to the ocean. Where are the 3 lots that would be the cheap lots? I use that word
Less
very,
expensive.
very lightly.
So one is right in front of Hang 10 that I started on. The next one is right here on the west side of the town marina. It's the gravel lot over here. And then the third is, I'm going to scroll, let me scroll down here. Way up on the north end. Here.
Okay, so the idea there, I assume, is if you're willing to walk 2 or 3 blocks, depending on where you're going, obviously, that those lots would be less desirable, so they would be a little less expensive.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So Ed, I have a question. So for our residents, the parking pass is $20, and it's also the same for the golf cart?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what about non-residents? I just saw that somewhere.
$100.
Non-residents, we were looking at, and we had the rate schedule in front of you. Right now is 150, and we were looking at that going to 200. And
Okay, I see now.
and we're also looking at, right now you have your downtown employee pass, which is $25, but it's limited. You can only park in one lot. So we're looking at changing that to a pass that would allow you to park anywhere, but it would be a $100 pass. So an employee could get a discounted rate if you come to town hall and provide a letter from your employer that's in the central business district, or a pay stub showing that you work at one of those businesses. You could get that reduced rate for a parking pass at $100 if you're not a resident. If you're a resident and you're employed, then you still get the $20 rate.
Because we're having them park in the lot in front of the Marriott, which is going to be a cost share lot.
Right, and we really don't want to encourage the stickers in that lot. We're trying to disperse those to all our lots, so it's a win-win.
So we don't lose it.
Right.
That was actually a complaint I heard quite a bit from, was that lot was always full, and that people who had paid for those parking permits could rarely get in there. So
Okay.
I think what you're doing here is you take that restriction away, right? Basically give them a half price non-resident pass, but they can park anytime, anywhere,
Right.
just like residents can. Is that what you're doing?
Anytime, anywhere. You don't have to be at work. You can go to the beach. You can use the pass. Just it'll be the same pass everyone gets.
So same as the resident gets?
Yes,
They
sir.
just pay half the non-resident fee?
Right.
So I asked Bruce about some numbers. Were you able to find out how many non-resident annual passes you're selling?
It's on, I think Ed has.
Not golf carts. We're talking about vehicles.
So
And just for the public, I can imagine that those CBD employees are probably a small number, if I had to
515.
guess. How many?
515. It's printed out in front of you right there.
Excuse me?
Right.
It's a printout there right in front of you.
The non-resident vehicles, so the difference they're asking to add from 150 to 200 is an increase in revenue of 25 grand. I guess we have to decide if we're willing to rock the boat with all of our surrounding neighbors.
And that's why I wanted to know, what is the number that we're selling?
515 last year,
It's in the back of this packet.
and if we charge an extra $50, we're gonna raise $25,000, and is that worth? Just a philosophical question, upsetting our friends in Curie Beach and in the Cape.
Ed, I have a handful of
Well,
questions.
we do keep our golf cart pass the same. I mean, that's $100 and not 200, and a golf cart's going to take up the same number of parking as a car. So, I mean, that is a discount for the Curry Beach. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if it's a car or golf cart, it's going to take up one parking place. So we didn't increase that, it's still $100.
But I think in the prior meeting, didn't we talk about, I'm not sure if you're prepared to talk about this, but the prior meeting, we talked about to try to raise revenue in the existing lots, get as many golf carts out of those as we could, and you guys were looking at adding additional golf cart parking, golf cart specific parking, to hopefully relieve some of that? Are we down the road on that, on adding golf cart parking?
We have added quite a bit throughout town. I was out with Public Works last week, and Lanier's identified some, and our Public Works folks are upfitting quite a bit in our parking lots, and specifically on the street ends on the ocean front we're
Like
adding.
Spartanburg, you took away all the bicycle spaces. Let's put some bicycle racks back.
We do have bicycle racks that we got last year. Mayor helped us get, and we'll put some of those back.
And, yeah, I mean, because I think it's a good idea to try and pick up those golf carts, but when we do have spaces, we wanted to encourage on those street ends to make sure we had both bicycle and golf cart. And so in all seriousness, let's keep an eye on the ones, if we're doing away with the opportunity to park bikes, we need to put that back somehow. It's a pretty non-intrusive, small space.
Right.
But on the parking rates is what we want to.
Ed and Bruce, I have a few questions. I wasn't here at the workshop, and I 100% don't support increasing our parking fees, and that's just me. But before we get to that point, I have questions just I'd like to know. Are we doing this because we're anticipating the revenue loss from Freeman Park?
We've kept these completely separate, so we don't look at Freeman Park and associate with this parking program. So we've kept those discussions separate. It's really to stay competitive with what we're seeing out there in other private lots, what they're charging. And like I said, we don't know what they're charging.
What we said in the beginning of this presentation is we're losing private lots to private operators. And if we lose that lot, the operator's going to charge this exact price, and the town still doesn't get that revenue, and you're still going to pay it. So the logic is if we charge the same thing, it has nothing to do with Freeman Park. That's a whole nother animal. But, I mean, we can't lose all the lots that we contract with, and then they're going to charge you the same thing that you're already paying. You know, that they're already charging, and we still didn't get that revenue is the issue. And we've had several come to us and ask, we want the same cost share they're offering us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
if you do some reading, not an expert, obviously, in some towns where they have actually lost almost all of their parking revenue to private companies, because the private companies will get this lot this year, and then the next lot that year, and the next lot that year, and before long, they'll have the majority of lots, and then they can charge whatever they want. So then the taxpayer ends up paying an exorbitant amount more than the town would probably prove. That's what I have.
So right now we
That's
have
my Google.
four.
When you say that, what towns specifically?
I said that's my Google knowledge.
So what towns? If you're giving us this information for us to be able to make this judgment call, then you can't just say this information, I have data to support it.
I do not have any data.
So
I'm
here's
telling you-
So is it true, or is this fake news?
I will give you the same links I read. How's that?
I'm just curious because...
Can you not see how they would possibly
No,
do
I
that,
could
though?
see that, but to
It's
just throw it out
predatory
there and not say,
practice,
hey,
right?
I had this concrete information that says those things, because...
I would ask to read back the record. I didn't say anything about any concrete information.
Okay, guys, we got it. And I appreciate that, and you can Google that information before the meeting and kind of educate yourself, you know, on what.
So I do have some stats. Right now we have 4 lots that we have revenue sharing. It's soon to be 6 lots. So if you equate that to parking spaces, you're talking 140 to 150 parking spaces, which equates to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which we cannot give away.
So my suggestion is I would like to hear Ed finish his presentation, and then I think we all have some comments on these different rates. 'Cause because we just got to the top, Ed, so rock on, my friend.
I'm a last page kind of guy.
So, so the other change we're looking at, we talked about the non-resident Carolina Beach or Central Business District employee. We've looked at the fee schedule change. One change we're looking at for the 2-hour parking is to stop enforcement at 8 p.m. Is something some of the council was talking about and discussing. So you would still have enforcement after 8, but you wouldn't enforce the 2 hours. So if you park at 6 p.m., you still have to feed the meter, but you could stay there longer if you're there for the evening for fireworks or something like that.
Yeah, can
Yeah, I don't have a
speak
problem with that.
That was one of the questions that I had asked Ed, and I tell you what I was thinking there was, what you hear from residents, the 2-hour parking, in my view, changes its use when you go into the night hours. During the day, it's about keeping the daytime beachgoers out so that they can visit the businesses in town, right? But at night, it flips. You want people there longer. Like if people come to the fireworks, we actually want them to stay in the central business district longer. So I think the request I made was to move that to stop enforcement at 8, which means if you get in a 2-hour spot downtown post 6, you're good. You still got to pay for the parking. It's not free. That was
I'm fine with that.
where I was, the logic of where I was heading with that.
I guess for me, the biggest issue that I'm struggling with, and we've heard from our friends down at Curie Beach and our friends over the bridge, we all got several emails, but, mainly the people from River Road and Monkey Junction back who do frequent our beaches, and even in Wilmington. So that's where I'm kind of struggling a little bit with what do we charge them? We see that 500 and some people have bought those at $150. But I guess the rest are paying that fee, that daily fee.
Right.
Or the hourly fee.
Right, so.
That's my biggest struggle. The rest of it, I'm good with.
So that's the two that I have that jumped out at me were, I do think $25,000 is a significant amount of money. I'm just not sure it's worth as our friend Bruce Shell would say, the squeeze is worth the juice. We got a lot.
That rate.
Yeah, I could live with the 150. And on the employee, most of those employees are service employees, and my understanding was a fair number of those passes were purchased by the employer on behalf of the employee. We're talking 41 of them last year. Again, $4,100 is a lot of money. I'd be willing to say just get to 20 to 50 instead of 100. I do think that's a significant impact on an hourly employee. And one of the things I think we need to make sure we do is, in a tight labor market, make sure that our seasonal service employees are available for the businesses that we have.
I agree.
And if we go away with telling them they can park in any lot, then it might work a little better. So personally, I'm fine with all the fees and rates and everything, with the exception of
Actually, we should
150,
encourage them to
leave it
park
one.
farther back so
We
that their
should.
customers can get to the CBD in those closer lots.
And maybe we could say pick something. I'm open to understanding what that might be. But the rest of the changes that staff has proposed, I'm comfortable with the exception of raising the non-resident to $200. I'd say just leave it at $1.50. And that's still, I did the math at 200, that's 40 days, or what is that, 40 hours, or 10 full days or 40 hours. And if people are coming from, wherever they're coming for a 2-hour visit, that's a lot of time coming up from that. So I'm just That's just my 2 cents.
So I agree with that. That's exactly the same two issues that I had, and I'm fine with it to be 50 for the CBD employees, and they park anywhere. 150 for our non-resident friends, I think, is good. But I think it needs to be clear, and media can help us with this, that not all our lots are going to $5 an hour. There are some places you can still park at $3. You just need to know where that's at. So,
Well, I think
for
a-
this
a
math.
significant issue is a number of those green peas that are on there right there that we don't currently control. If we
Right.
don't figure out a way to enter into a lease agreement, then any of the parking passes that we're issuing aren't valid there.
Right.
You can have a parking pass to park free in Carolina Beach everywhere except for a private lot.
So that's a
And
real
that
good-
gets very confusing.
That's a real good question. Have we talked about requiring those private lots to have a different colored signage or something real obvious? Because apparently, I mean, I've read it, it says no town decals offered, accepted here, but I guess people don't read them. I mean, can we think about some different kind of color-codedness or?
We do have different requirements for those lots, and they have to advertise that they don't take the sticker. So there is, I don't have it in front of me, but there are specific, council did have that concern when we adopted those regulations. So that is built in there. And we've taken more steps this year to ensure our signage is very clearly different from any private lots.
Just curious, what's the rough estimate of increase on revenue are you anticipating if we were to move in this direction?
Really, right now, like the lots up here are
Don't worry about those
tentative.
lots, just everything else, rough estimate.
I could bring something back to you. I mean, I have Lanier here. They could help me with that, but I don't have that in front of me.
This would be great information to have because you should anticipate that that's going to be one of the number one questions we're going to ask.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I can, it really depends on what we're going to, which one of these lots we are or aren't going to get. I know you want just what ones we have now, but it's very fluid right now.
The thing is,
Are you talking about revenue off of those lots, Jodan, or revenue off of these
just in
rates?
general, what we're anticipating, what's worst case scenario, best case scenario. If we do this, we're going to get 300 grand. If not, we're looking at 30 grand. That's something that, as we talk about, because me personally, I'm perfectly fine with charging $100 for employees. $50, that's $100 is 4 days worth of all-day parking.
So I
Average
do have
employee
one
here is
thing
based
to
off the
say about
tips.
the employee piece. I agree with Joe Dan on the $100 for the employee, and the reason I say that is I've talked to a couple business owners down there, and they would be very pleased with $100, very pleased. And the reason being is that their employees can show up for work on time, because right now they can't, because they have one lot to choose from. That lot is jam-packed, and they can't find a parking space. So they would be pleased with that. Plus, the turnover in that industry is massive. And if we sell a $50 pass, they're only there for a month. Those folks have a pass for all year long. So, I mean, there's nothing more important than taking care of our business owners. I will say that, but I think $100 is fair.
Jay, I would just add on to that I'm kind of between where Stephen Leanne were and where you and Jodan are. If we're going to $50, we should restrict them to the non-prime lots, which is kind of what we had before. But if we're going to give them effectively the same as a resident pass or a non-resident pass, that would give them free reign to park any day, anywhere they want, I think the $100 works. So I tend to agree with you that I don't see that as being a huge burden. And we're talking this year, we're talking 41 people. We're not talking, but remember the
that was
reason.
brought last year.
See,
Right.
25.
I do not believe that number, that 41 number. That makes
What?
0 sense.
Unless it's
gotta be
business
Well,
is
so there
fine,
may be a
fine.
lot of those that are residents and they're getting a $20 pass.
Right, they already have passes.
They already have passes. Okay, so that looks like a consensus of $100. I would tend to try to make it easier on the business owners and do 50. I don't see much difference in allowing 41 people to buy a pass at $50 to come to work versus the $20 we're selling it to for residents. But, I mean, whatever, is that, you're gonna ask us to vote on each of these items or a consensus?
We're going to ask for a vote, Jeremy, okay. Here, the motion we're going to ask for is to amend our town's rates and fees schedule in accordance with ordinance 20-1135, which is the spreadsheet you have in front of you with the rate changes. So that's all the rate changes we were discussing. And also, we're also looking at making the season from April through November this year, and then next year be March through November.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw gasoline on the fire.
No.
Yep. You look at this list, what's the largest number on here? 6,457 resident passes.
Well, that's going to be, I know where you're going. That's a lot of gas. Go ahead.
So if you increase that from 20 to 40, that's $130,000. That's almost 1 point on the sales tax, on the property tax.
I'm down with making that $40.
And
I was
I
down
know
with
that's a big
cutting back
number,
meters
but I
and
mean,
resources.
we have a lot of
I
residents
don't
that say,
disagree.
I ride my bike, I'm riding a golf cart, I'm walking to the beach. So my question is, you know, what do our residents, I mean, I get the reentry part, which we included, you know, which is fine, but $40 is not insignificant, I get that, but that's 2.5 days full parking at the Hamlet lot. You know, if I don't know, it's $130,000. That's real money on our budget. That's a half a point, 3/4 of a point on our property tax.
And I agree with you.
Bruce is gonna be like, oh, thank you, we need that.
And we've already, if you've already bought your pass, you got a good deal.
So to
Right.
answer,
I mean, I throw that out there because Lynn didn't want to bring it up. He's new to council, and I thought
Steve's an old shoe.
I'd take the heat for him because, you know, he slipped me that note. That was Lynn Barbie's idea.
Don't stick me with that one.
Well, so Lynn, we did talk about, you know, in some discussions about going up on the property tax. That makes it where we don't have to.
Well,
And it's
we
a
go that
user
far.
fee. It's well, we're not there yet, but it's a user fee versus a property tax increase for everybody.
And I would encourage to leave the golf cart where it is. I'm okay with that. I mean, if we're trying to make a walkable community and we're telling people we're spending money on bike trails and we're doing all this other stuff. More on the golf cart?
That's what we're saying. Both.
It takes up the same space as the
That's how
point I
I
was
don't-
trying to make earlier.
so we made $750,000 last year on parking at the rates that we have now. So to answer Joe Dan's question, it's going to be considerable amount of money. You know, so I'm a Facebooker, and a citizen made a comment today, and he says if we gave our citizens a choice to increase the utilities, increase their taxes, or increase the parking, which one will they choose? To me, that's a no-brainer to me. And what we're doing is we're trying to do everything we can to get revenue for this town so they don't have to pay more in taxes. I mean, that's the bottom line.
It is a tax.
Right.
It's a fee. It's a fee. It's coming everywhere.
So, and just, okay.
Hang on. I just want to follow up on Jay's comment, and I'm with you there, Jay. I mean, the taxpayers already pay. So this idea that residents are getting this huge windfall with this cheap parking pass is just not true. They're paying taxes already to this town. And so that's why they get the $20 pass. Now, if we have to raise it because of revenue purposes, okay, I can talk about it, but I'm not going to start there, especially when you're backing off of non-residents. I mean, I'm not here to punish the OTB people. They eat in our restaurants. They're wonderful people. Nothing against them whatsoever. But they don't pay taxes.
Okay, so the difference is between 150 and 200, 25 grand. The difference between 20 and 40 on golf carts and residents is 160,000.
It depends on what your goal is, right, Steve? If you're looking at how to get maximum revenue, you are exactly correct. The way to get maximum revenue is to charge every resident more money.
Well, I'll tell you this,
Well, that's fine. We can have that budget discussion when it comes time for the budget, because I think you're going to find that we're going to be facing some pretty bitter pills this year.
Exactly.
We have put off a lot of capital, whether it's the fire department that's telling us they need a new $500,000 to $1 million fire truck that we've got to figure out over the next few years. You know, I get it. I'm not, believe me, would like to have lower property taxes wherever possible, but we keep hearing more and more and more, and, you know, so it's open for discussion, that's why there's 5 of us.
That's right.
I'm fine with the $40. I've always thought that, I mean, for so long it was 12 or something, and we had the same problem with our water rates. We didn't increase anything for so long, then we couldn't sustain our infrastructure. So when we did increase it, everybody was shocked. You know, we went so long and we didn't stay up with the cost of living.
The area I'm struggling personally is between managing parking and managing taxes. If we, and it comes down to the question of whether you see using parking as a revenue, a major revenue generator. So when you're talking about we need new fire trucks, we need new police cars, we need additional staff in town, whatever, to me, that's a resident's responsibility, right? Should be passed as, if we can't find another way around it, it should go as a tax increase. We shouldn't move those types of things into charging non-residents or anyone else for parking. So to me, these are two somewhat, they all come to the same bucket. I get it, it's all revenue, but I separate those two.
Well, the non-resident is a strain on our infrastructure that we have to.
Well, we're not saying that our parking
Which is why
revenue is
I am-
specifically going
And
to
so
one
is-
thing versus not the other, though. It's going into the dot that's going to overly pay for everything. We're not saying parking revenue specifically only going to this. It's going into the pot that's going to pay for everything. So it's.
General
I agree with you, but at the same time, we're not taking that.
So,
It's going
just
one way.
to give you a general sense, we've been working hard at paying off some debt, and we're kind of balancing that, and we're, interest rates have started dropping. $1 million would cost the town on a note $4,800 a month, so it's $60,000 a year. Raising that $20 gets you a $3 million purchase power. You've been wanting to talk about buying open space, you've been wanting to talk about buying other things. How do you want to finance that? Because we don't have it in the general budget. And Joe Dan's question, and I understand the mayor's response, no, this is, or Ed's response, this isn't a Freeman Park discussion, it's a Freeman Park discussion. Okay, our revenue is different than it has been in the past, and we're going to continue to see a change in that revenue because it's not about the revenue at Freeman Park. And we can't rely on things that, so times are changing on that, and.
Yes, but it's not, we're not raising parking rates because of Freeman Park. It does factor, absolutely is a factor, but part of, I believe, losing those lots is the factor. We cannot lose those parking lots to those other contractors. That is
Well,
the
for
issue.
me,
We have to be competitive.
Right, so there's two separate things. I thought what we were hung up on, I think pretty much everyone's in favor of going at the $5 and the 17 or the 20 or the 3 different structured on the lots. The question now is, do we want to go back to the residents and raise from 20 to 40? Do you want to go for, yes, we would charge more for parking when we are about to see a decrease in tourism and increased cost of living. Yeah, I see that. I get these texts every now and then from our editor. I got to turn that off.
Okay, so we're somebody's going to have to make a motion. But are you guys in agreement with leaving the non-resident at 150?
I'm cool.
All right, and what about the,
Hang on.
you don't like that? You want to increase it? Shuttleworth, you said 150, okay? We're not taking a vote yet, we're just doing a little consensus.
I think we're all cool with the 150.
Except for him.
You're in favor of increasing the extra $50? So as right now, 4-1. If we were to,
Yeah. Hey, it's
I know
all about
we're
a
just,
vote. We
but we're
all vote.
chatting right now. I think
Well,
we're just
we
trying
need to talk about each individual item so that when we vote, you don't just not approve the whole vote based on one item. So if we can iron out every item, we should do that, I think. Does
If
that
4
make sense?
people are for the 150.
Oh, we're all,
Move on.
we'll be on the same page. So, okay, the CBD parking?
Employee, I say $100.
I say $100.
I'll say $100.
I'm good.
Okay, if that's the consensus, I'll go with that. I would like, if we'd had someone from the CBD here, that would have been nice to have some comments. And this would be the time, to hear
We
from
had
our
to wait for
public.
comments for grant.
So, what was the other thing?
Golf cart.
I thought Jay's comment was important. If people
Okay.
are coming and going and they get a.
And we'll let them park wherever they want to park. So question before we go any farther, are we going to allow the stickers in all the lots this year?
All the ones that we have under contract right now, yes. The ones that we don't have under contract, that might be something that,
The ones you're trying to get under contract.
right, so those may end up being different, if, depending on what we can work out with the property owners.
So again, so that we can have that lot, instead of a private person, we will have to do apples to apples.
We're working on that now, so it's continuing to go.
That's a little touchier. I don't disagree with that, but that's just a little touchier, especially if we're gonna go from 20 to 40. You got an annual pass, now it costs you $40, but you can't park in that lot.
Well, if we lose that lot, because to that, and we all know who we're possibly, some of the ones we're talking about, if we lose that lot because it's not under contract and they go with the other guy, we still don't have that. We lost the revenue from it.
Lost of revenue,
know.
but they're still parking.
So who's
Well, they
in
can't
favor-
park in there with
They
stickers.
can't, since I know. It's-
So we really should try to get that under contract. And for the public, if you're leasing your lots, you should release them to the town of Carolina Beach to help us, you know, so,
So who's in favor of the golf cart one, 20 to 40?
which one?
I think
20, 40?
we should make tie them together.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
If we're gonna make residents a $40 cart, make the golf cart 40, yeah.
It's a parking place.
It should be,
It's a parking
You're
place.
saying tie golf
Yep.
carts and cars,
Yep.
whatever the rate is.
make that,
Okay.
Depends on whether you want to increase.
All right, you want 20 or 40, guys?
I think we want to recommend, I mean, we want people to use golf carts.
I'm sorry?
our golf carts, we increased over 300 in the past year and a half.
We can have public comment. Let us have I know that's not on our agenda.
You
here.
can have
the look
public
right
comment, you just need to have whoever's going to have public comment come up and speak
Okay,
at the
so
microphone.
give us just a minute, and we would like to hear. Guys, let's open it up for some public comment.
We've only got halfway down the list.
Well, we're only, well, no, we're hassling back and forth over the residential parking pass, I
Well,
think.
go ahead and keep, if there's more on that list, Jodanne, let's get.
What
to the
else is
bottom
on
of the
it?
list before we ask
What
for
else do you
public
see we
comment.
didn't agree on?
Keep going, Jodanne. What else
The
you got on
increase
there
in
you don't like?
fines.
What?
Not that I don't like, I'm
Oh, I'm fine
not
with
sure where you
fines.
guys are sitting.
I'm fine with
I'm
the fines,
comfortable
you don't
with
have to.
everything except for the two I brought up.
Okay.
I'm willing to acquiesce on some of the others, so.
I could, well, yeah. I
Maybe it
think,
was the fines and the rest of those on the fines, and
You cool with it?
I don't care about the fines,
I mean, either.
okay? So I'll make a motion, we open for some public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Please come up if you'd like to talk about that. And we'd love to hear your opinions. Particularly, we'd like to hear your opinions on the 20 to 40.
Should have told me, I would have said no.
I would have said,
Don't be shy.
Mark is not sure.
Oh, council, 20 to 40. What, Ed, when you figure for citizens of Carolina Beach, and you figure $20 a car for the parking and coming back on, how many stickers do you figure per household that you're gonna?
well, we sold 6,100 last year.
Okay,
I
so
don't know how many that is per house.
how many is that per household? No
Me,
idea.
it was 4, because I have teenagers that are
There's
driving.
roughly
Okay.
6,700
Okay.
residents.
Huh?
And there's roughly 6,700 residents.
Okay.
We-
I've got
I could
two-
just
I
tell you
got-
We sold 64, I don't know how many, you bought 2 or 1?
I
or 5.
just spent, I think, 120 bucks today.
And another 1,100 golf carts.
No, I didn't have any golf carts, thank God.
Well, you don't need it to re-enter I think those are just for parking.
Well, okay, either way, just they're for, well, they're parking and re-enter, the ones I got, and it was, I think, 120 bucks I spent today, $123. There's only 2 of us in the house. We just have, I got a lot of cars.
A lot of cars.
But, and the thing is, the other cars I got, if you took them all together, they're not worth one.
Are you
they're-
using those all the time in every parking lot in town?
That's my point
You
exactly.
got to drive the
Then
car
just
that you
buy the
park with.
re-entry pass.
No, because if, I got to rotate the stock. So,
understand.
So that's the
that-
choice you're choosing for. If you're not using those cars 100% of the time, then that's the choice that you're
It's
making
like
for
a
that.
first world-
Others would not use those cars or would not get a parking pass for
So
it.
is that a yes or a no, Mark?
I don't know what,
No.
You said you
you're
have 3
just
cars and
24.
you don't use them all the time, correct?
right,
But you're buying parking passes for all 3.
right.
Okay, so
No, I'm for 6 of them.
So buy it for,
And I use 2 of them most of the time, but
Buy it
4
for
of them
half.
I don't. But if I want to take one of them and go to the beach, and I use and I want to be able to park in a parking lot,
Mark, I love you like a brother, but
That's
is
a choice,
first
yeah.
world problem. You have 6.
you got too many cars.
but the problem, what I'm trying to say is those 4 cars aren't worth the price of 1 car.
But
They're-
So you're saying no, you would not like to see it increase?
If you want,
disciplined and only take 1 to the beach.
That's
Don't
right.
buy passes for the
No, I don't want to do that.
Then you're making that choice. Unfortunately, I'm
I
sorry. to
know,
say.
and that choice I was making before that when the prices, I didn't argue when they're $20 a piece. But when you double it, that's a question.
Okay.
You know,
Mark,
if you got 2 residents in your house and you got 2 cars, fine. I think that should be matched to the number of the licensed drivers that are insured in your house.
Mark,
Okay.
quick question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mark, you do bring up a good point that got a lot of chatter going, but you bring up a good point. The assumption for those wanting to go to $40 is that we would get 40 times 64.57. I think your point is that you will not get 64.57, that people who have multiple cars at $40 will still spend the same amount of money. They would just buy fewer passes.
Yeah, they
Is
said
that
that
your
about
point?
raising the tax on gas and cigarettes. It's a punitive tax. People will quit doing it because, you know, it costs too much to buy, but they still seem to do it.
Okay.
Hey, I
At some
quit.
point,
Okay.
you can
I
quit.
quit.
Okay,
That's
well,
car payment.
right.
All right.
I
Thank
get
you,
it.
Mark. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Lynn, that's a good point, though.
But that's a choice.
Just come on up.
It is a choice.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, guys.
Hey, I'm Debbie Taylor. I live on Florida Avenue. I am perfectly fine with the parking being doubled from $20 to $40. I think it should be the same rate for a golf cart versus a car until the town has specifically made golf cart spots. It's very frustrating when I do drive to go down there and you think you're going to see an empty spot and there's a golf cart in there. So they should be paying the very same thing that everybody else has to pay. Second thing I just want to note is for myself and for a lot of my friends, we are not buying the parking pass to go down to CBD and park. We're going to use Uber or any other taxi service, or we're going to have one car. When we go out to eat, we don't go down there and park. So I don't have a problem at all. As a resident, as a person that is frequently in the CBD, whether it's at lunchtime or whether it's early dinner, I don't use the space. I Uber, and I think a lot of the other residents do that as well.
most do, if not in the strip of Lake Park with Nicky's or Sea Merchant. I think that's normally where everyone conglomerates to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Uber's on.
None of us like that frustration of parking down that area 'cause it's too
and that's
much.
it. Parking is so rare to begin with.
Right.
So even though I buy a parking pass for all of my cars, but that's reentry as well. So, but I'm not buying it for thinking that I'm going to be parking. And I think a lot of our residents, I don't think that's what they're doing either.
Well, thank you, Debbie, and we expect you to take up for us on social media. Scott?
Scott Cipher, 101 6th Street North. And Lynn hit on exactly what I was going to mention. I'm sitting there realizing, as you were talking about doubling the fee, our second vehicle that we never take anywhere for parking within the town, I paid the $20 fee, not even thinking about the fact that I only need the $2 reentry. So Lynn's exactly right. Don't take into account that you're going to be able to double what you currently have, because people like myself are going to realize we have second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth vehicles that don't need the full pass.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's a good point, Scott. You don't have to buy the pass for every vehicle. You can just buy the reentry and use the one vehicle to park.
Exactly. So just wanted to point that out for.
Well, so are you in favor or against?
I'm in favor for going to 40. I wouldn't have a problem with it personally. And for the golf carts, on the fence as far as the ability to have separate parking for golf carts. But at the same time, that's what I use all of the time. So $40 to me for all the parking that I get out of it is still a bargain.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, Lynn Conto, 807 North Carolina Avenue. So my thing is, it's a supply and demand issue. It's like everything else. We only have so much beach. We only have so many parking places, right? So when the parking places become more rare, so if you don't put his 6 cars there, somebody else paying $20 a day is going to park there, right? So one way or another, it's going to generate more revenue for the town, which is what we want. As a homeowner, I think we pay a lot of taxes already, just personally. I think this is a fee. I don't have a car, but we have a golf cart, so we end up paying the same thing. But from my perspective, it's to your point, it's an optional fee. It's not a mandated piece. And I think we need more optional fees versus mandated taxes. Personal opinion. Thank you.
Yes, I would vote for it.
Thank you.
so you got me up here anyway. Just on a different subject. Paul Levy. I live at 1606 Mackerel Lane. Our realtor suggested that we look for a house that was in walking distance of a beach access, and that's what we did. I'm indifferent on the $20 or $40. From a revenue standpoint, I understand where you're coming from. I would look more toward a compromise amount, maybe of 30 this year, 40 the following year. I would strongly advocate that the golf cart and the cars be charged the same for parking. I would also ask, and one of you guys brought up this point, I think a lot more residents would use bicycles to get to downtown, but it is grossly unsafe to ride a bicycle on Lake Park. And I know we've had that discussion before about, is there a way of connecting up Carolina Beach Avenue South, for example, and dealing with the Marriott parking lot? I think that would be a great thing to encourage people to use bikes.
So
at
Paul,
least
our
from the
Bike
south
Ped
end.
Committee is working on that, a connectivity route to get people off of Lake Park Boulevard.
Exactly.
And you've probably seen on social media some of the signage they're putting up with directionals and how to get around, and they're going to put those maps in our kiosks.
That's
around
great.
town. Yeah, so we're not quite there 100%, but we're working on that.
I understand.
Yeah. So, well, thank you.
100% correct.
Thank
That
you.
is the future. Getting
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Anybody else? We really appreciate hearing your comments on this, and that's an idea too. You could do 10 and 20, and 10, and then give people a year to realize what it's going to be.
Hi, Patricia Jones, 712 St. Joseph. As you know, I'm here quite a bit. So I sat through a lot of the Freeman Park. And you say it's not tied to Freeman Park, but I do want to, and I think some of us missed Jodan's point about it, we don't always have to reinvent the wheel every single time. So for me, learning from what we experienced with Freeman Park, when we were talking about going from the $150 to $200, people expected that they would have additional services. Where we heard the backflash was when we had less services. So just something to think about. With the $150, they need to have a premium experience. And my economics upbringing makes me think about that. Charging them a premium price makes them think that they're having a premium experience. It really does. So I've always heard that as a business owner, the challenge of why did you pick Carolina Beach over Wrightsville Beach or Wilmington or something like that. And really, I don't have that much better of an experience in Wrightsville. I just pay more. So the notion, I mean, it is a basic economic premise that if you pay more, you think you're getting more. So just something to consider too. It's all about the way we market this price increase. On that, I would say doubling is a challenge. That's something that people recognize all the time. So if instead of going from 20 to 35, that will really nip that backlash of everybody saying you doubled the price. Well, if you go to 35, it's going to be a lot less. We pay for both vehicles the full price. I don't even think about it. I just know it's going to be $20 for parking. I go there with my two $20 bills and I pay for it. The last thing that I wanted to say was about the private companies. I definitely think that we do need to challenge the private companies, possibly charging them for trash or something like that. They each have trash cans. So maybe if they are going to try and challenge us for those lots, if we're charging those private companies for our trash pickup or any of the other services we give them, I think that that would help. And lastly, I do have employees. There is a lot of turnover. There will be a lot of those employees. They're smart. They're really smart. They know the system. If you're only charging them $50, they're going to go work somewhere for a month, get their $50 pass and have a free pass into Carolina Beach for a whole year. I think that they should feel a commitment to the town, and that's something that I'm challenged with as an employer. How do I make my employees love where they work and love the town as much as we do? So I just think the $100 commitment will help, that they're making a commitment to the town as well, and they're part of us.
Ed, when would these rates take in effect?
April 1st.
And we've been selling parking passes.
Hold on a second. Does anybody else want to speak? Because if you don't, we're going to close this up, and council's going to make a decision.
If you do decide to raise the thing to $40, can you make them interchangeable? I can still only drive one car to a parking place at a time.
No, it's going to have to be affixed to
No.
your windshield.
Goes to that.
No.
Have you already bought your passes for this
Yeah.
year? You're all
What are you
right.
worried about?
I know, but I mean, I'll get nailed for next year.
Yeah, that's right. Well, by next year, you'll forget.
And, no,
Thank you, Mark.
My income goes down next year.
Next year, you'll forget about it.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we're gonna stop the public comment now. Are you guys okay with that? All in favor? All right, what you got? What were you gonna say, Steve? Go ahead.
So we already sold most of the public passes already this year. I mean, you're talking about a problem for next year. I get it, but
Well, I like Patricia's comment about the $35.
Mayor, and I'm new here, so I don't want to interject.
ahead.
You just tell me to butt out if I do, but I heard two different things, one about the non-resident and the resident. Why not sort of split the difference and go 30 for, or consider going 30 for the resident and 175 for the non-resident? You sort of hit both things I think I heard from both, two different arguments that we need to cover there. Just a suggestion, and tell me to butt out.
No, I appreciate that. That is somewhat of a compromise position, and you hit both parties, right? We're not.
You got to balance between our visitors and our
everybody's
residents.
Paying a little more. Comments on Bruce's proposal?
As budget coming up, I like the $40, but I understand the objection that the numbers he threw out were very enticing.
I'm a little hesitant on the 175, only because I don't want to discourage. I don't know. I'm on the fence with that. I'll defer. What do you guys think?
You talking about on the non-resident pass? $200 is 10 days. What's the math, Ed?
10 days.
It's like 10 days of parking. So for 10 days of parking, you get the same service as a resident who pays taxes here. That seems like a deal to me, right?
No, I understand. I'm really not in favor of the 200, and we were talking about leaving it at 150. So do you want 150 or 175?
I'm fine with leaving it at 40. I'll take that backlash. I'm fine with leaving it at 40 and
No,
taking that
she's talking about
backlash.
the
Non-resident. Let's
I'm fine with
settle
leaving
that
that.
non-resident.
I'm fine with leaving it at 150 and 40.
You want?
Me personally, what?
How about 35?
how about 40?
40.
It's becoming
She's
awkward.
right. I mean,
The thing is, what our residents aren't understanding is the amount of money we're about to lose in Freeman Park. We need to make it up somewhere. It's hard to say, and it's hard to really bite that bullet. But the numbers show that we were drastic. We've been using that as a fluffer.
Well, we've
No one
also
wants
set
to-
a goal to try and, you guys, we want to put money in the reserve account.
But we-
You guys are talking about, the last letter I saw that came out said, we don't want to do any new projects unless we put in a 5-year annual maintenance cost to that project. So if a project costs $100,000, we want to know what we're budgeting every year in the budget to maintain that. Not a bad idea. Haven't done it in the past, so we've got these projects out there that, we've acquired and that we're not putting an annual maintenance in. So these things, I think you're going to find when Bruce comes with a budget, we're going to be like, oh goodness.
should have done that.
We also,
So
no one wants to admit, but Freeman Park, we've always had an extra fluffer out that went back into the general fund that no one's ever spoke about or anything. We always had a nice little cushion that always went back in our general fund. We're not going to have that this year. It's drastically. Now we're not going to have that, but we're not even going to meet that budget. I hate to say this to residents, but we have to compromise between us and our visitors. If that means, hey, you might have to walk 2 extra days or a bicycle or something that's going to allow that parking for somebody else, I'm 100% cool with that. At the same time, at the end of the day, we can't take extra money that we don't have to try to balance that out. And we're going to lose a good bit of money coming from Freeman Park come July 1st.
So let's focus on our parking rates. And do we have a consensus? Does anybody want to make a motion?
Can you walk down?
Shuttleworth?
Yeah, before we make a motion,
let's
can you
recap.
walk down what you're motioning item by item, just so that I know what I'm voting for?
I would recommend we approve everything that staff has recommended on the reentry parking, golf cart, and Freeman Park fees with the modification of $100 for an employee fee and $40 for a resident
And leaving one
and a $40 for a resident slow-moving vehicle and golf carts. So we keep the golf cart and the cart at the same at $40.
Okay, and you didn't address the
Non-resident.
You noticed that.
non-resident?
You noticed that.
Yes. It's my job.
I did not. Would you like me to?
Yes, please.
175.
We can't do anything.
Yes, they are something. They're a non-resident.
Yeah, there's
They're a
nothing we can.
non-resident.
So their golf cart pass will remain the same at 100. It'll only be Curry Beach residents because you can't come over the bridge with a golf cart. So, correct?
Yes, I'm saying leave everything that staff recommended. The only changes I would recommend to this pre-printed form would be to go to non-residents at 175, CBD employees to 100, and increase the parking pass for a parking permit decal to a property owner, as well as the golf cart and slow-moving vehicles from 20 to 40. Other than that, all the rest of these blues and reds, I'm
Okay.
fine with.
Any
And-
discussion?
I'm in agreement.
Motion on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Ed had a,
I had one comment I just wanted to bring up since our parking, I think Billing would kill me if I didn't at least bring this up. Our parking program starts April 1, so back to Councilman Shuttleworth's question he asked me earlier, all the new fees at the lots and the meters will start April 1. So the new, tomorrow, starting with the parking permits, I mean, I think we'll have a swarm of people coming in.
Oh, yeah.
If that's okay, we
Put it
can
on
leave it
Facebook.
at April 1.
that would mean that our residents are engaged and listening on
That's correct.
to this meeting.
So what you're
Thanks, Ryan.
proposing is to start the fees April 1.
You could do it, you could do the fees starting tomorrow or April 1. That's the other thing.
April 1.
April 1's fine.
April 1's fine. So, and also, we need to
Put it on
clarify
Facebook.
that we discussed after 8 o'clock, you did not have to honor the 2-hour parking.
Right.
Okay?
That's in here. 8.
And I'm just thinking there was something else.
8 to 8.
So I just want to make sure what I'm voting on. So I'm okay with everything you said. I'm not okay with the 40, but what I heard from the residents in here, the majority support 40.
You already voted.
You already said yes, and now you're trying to say no?
Do what?
Then why did you vote yes for it?
On the
I
next
didn't
item.
vote.
You didn't vote?
So then,
Are we for and
I think I asked to repeat
Okay.
what we were voting for.
Okay, so yeah,
throwing
so-
so many numbers around.
All right, one more time.
Okay. So-
175 for a non-resident, $100 for a CBD employee pass, $40 for a state-registered slow-moving vehicle, a non-state registered golf cart, and a resident property owner parking permit decals.
Yes. And that's the motion on the floor. And I think 4 has voted and you have not.
I'm not happy with the 40, so I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Okay? 4-1, motion passes.
I can't believe you did that, Lynn, after you slipped me that note and said,
Ed, I will make a,
I can't believe you back up on that. Oh, my God.
Ed, I will make a comment, as far as the enforcement, we might want to rethink November. I'm going to just throw that out at you.
So that would have been part of the motion. Is that something?
I understand, but I'm just saying, I don't know how I feel about November. That's pretty off-season. I can tell you that it maybe April to October. Yeah. I know I did, but I forgot that piece that
I'd
was
like
the
to
piece
make
of
a
the
friendly
puzzle that I
amendment
wanted
to
to
my
address.
motion.
Hang
What-
on.
what did you want?
Well, I can amend his motion, just hang on.
No, that requires me to amend my motion.
I don't know, just from my experience, in,
Nolan Bruce over there.
are y'all listening?
What are you guys doing? Nope.
So just my experience personally, in my business and the hotel business, and there's some business owners here. November, we're struggling, so I don't know that we need to charge for that parking in November. So I don't know, I'm just throwing that out. I didn't know if there was any discussion on that. I can see March. I could go with March, but I don't know about November. That might be a stretch. What did you find in the other communities? Are they charging for November?
we just voted yes on this.
I know, but I can amend that motion like that. So give me just a minute.
No,
You'd have to
made
do
me
a
out of
motion
the
to
vote.
reconsider.
I asked a question and I'm gonna get an answer, so just pipe down.
So I did ask Lanier to come. They do manage a lot of other communities, so I might defer to Lanier Parking and let them answer that. I know Wrightsville starts in March, but I think they do end in October.
I'm just concerned a little bit about the November, and we can
Myrtle
change
Beach.
this later. I know that we can
No,
change
I
this
think
later.
that's a fine thing to have
I
brought
just
up.
think
It's
while
a
we're
little
on
late,
parking,
so
we might need to
I
talk
think what
about
I would do is I would make a motion to reconsider the previous item, the previous motion. I think that's how we do that. So I make a motion to reconsider the previous motion. Now you would say all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we hear about November? Your thoughts on November?
Now you get to
going to make me vote until I vote away.
I'm just concerned, I read a lot of information that people come here in the off-season and enforcing parking in November might deter them from coming.
Tina Reed, linear parking. In comparison to other coastal environments that we operate for, most of our other operations do March through October 31st. We have 2 other operations that do year-round. We have.
Can you tell us who they are?
Folly Beach, South Carolina is one of those. And one that is coming, I can't discuss at this point, but it will be year-round.
And who are the ones who are March to October?
Wrightsville Beach, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Surfside Beach. All of those are March.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard we don't want to be Myrtle Beach or.
No, I can just tell you that I think a lot of businesses are still struggling in November. We want to encourage people to come here in November. I would, can I make a motion to change that part of the, or does Steve has to amend his motion?
You can just make a motion.
I'll make okay, so the previous motion still passes on the table, but I'll make an additional motion that we drop November and it be March 1 to October 31st.
Madam Mayor, I think what you have to do is do a whole new motion on everything, including that portion. I will make a motion.
Thank you.
I will make a motion that we approve the staff presentation for re-entry parking, golf cart, and Freeman Park fees as presented with these changes. Non-resident at $175, CBD employee at $100, resident parking and golf cart and slow moving at $40, and effective dates March 1st through October 31st.
Okay.
To take effect April 1.
Any
I miss it?
discussion? Any questions? Motion on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Yes.
Well, he presented that,
8
I
to 8.
believe, yeah.
It's always been that way. 8 to 8. Yeah.
We're good.
Okay,
stopped
all
at
right,
4.
so we're going to move forward. We took a vote on that. We're going to dial back to, thank you for sitting through that. We're going to dial back to our other agenda item that we skipped, a conditional use permit located at 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard. The applicant is here now, so we're going to hear from them, and we will, I ask that anyone who would like to testify for this CUP come and be sworn in. Does anybody want to talk on this issue? I know you do, Miles. Ralph, do you guys want to be, oh, she's going to do you back there, okay.
He can represent himself, right?
You swear him in back there? Okay. We're glad you're feeling better.
He can. If it's an LLC, he has to have an attorney.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we open the evidentiary hearing. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And staff present, oh, no Fox.
Mayor, Council, and for those who were here for the earlier item, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. All of the things that I said during the last hearing hold true for this. You must base your decision on competent material, substantial evidence. If you're a witness, you must stick to the standards that are necessary for the applicant to prove. The fact finders must be impartial. Does any member of council have any disclosure of an ex parte communication, bias, or conflict of interest to disclose?
I think the answer to those 3 things is no, but I do need to disclose that I was in P&Z when, not this CUP, but a prior version of this came through. So I did hear that hearing, just FYI. And then the second piece is I am a board member for Carolina Sands, which is an adjacent property to this, but I do not have any financial interest in it per se, and I do not have a biased opinion.
You have no fixed opinion and no bias.
No.
Does any member of council have any objection to Mr. Barbie participating as a fact finder in this matter?
Were you there during that entire presentation at P&Z?
Do you mean
Or-
this
That was a- that
presentation
was
or
a
the first
different
presentation?
CUP, different CUP. The
Yeah.
previous, that was a different CUP.
Okay, yeah, not for this one, no.
Okay, so we all heard the first one, so, I mean, this is a different CUP. And my other question would be, would Carolina Sands, are they going to propose they have special standing?
That's the next question,
Okay.
yes. But for this moment, does any member of council have an objection to Mr. Barbie participating?
Wouldn't we need to know that before we can say that answer?
No.
So my thing is that nothing against Lynn, but for some reason we say Lincoln votes, and then Caroline Sand says we want standings. Now does kind of have a part of that. See what I'm saying, Lynn?
You're over my head legally, but.
He's indicated that he serves on the board of directors, that he doesn't have, hasn't had any ex parte communications, that other than that, you have to vote on whether or not you think that that requires him to not hear this matter as an impartial fact finder. He does not have a fixed opinion.
So we'll do it like this. I'll make a motion to allow Councilman Barbie to vote on this CUP. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay,
Okay.
does the
That-
applicant have any objection to
because
Mr.
it's
Barbie participating in this matter?
I just want to say I did attend the exact same P&Z meeting.
That is a different CUP, it is not before council tonight.
And you're going to move into the special?
Yeah, is there any person in attendance that thinks they have standing to participate as a party in this matter this evening? Okay.
All right, we'll hear from staff presentation. That's
Good
you.
evening, everyone. Yes, ma'am, I do know. Just getting back to my
Welcome
game
back.
face after all that. So I'll be presenting a second conditional use permit for a business plan unit development located at 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard. As we are all familiar with, this is 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard. The entire property, including two back portions, are now owned by Ralph Roof. There was a recent recombination done, as well as a purchase to increase the parking, which will be featured in the site plan that you will see in a moment. So these are the current conditions for 1012 Lake Park Boulevard South. To the south, we have an HOA property of Carolina Sands at 1016, and to the north, we have a restaurant commercial property at 106 Lake Park Boulevard South. Business plan unit developments are permitted in neighborhood business as of a text amendment in the fall of 2019. They are permitted by conditional use permit. They have to meet a maximum density of 8.7 units per acre and otherwise meet all the standard zoning requirements for that zone, as well as a standard business plan unit development. This is the updated proposed site plan for the new CUP in front of you. There were substantial changes made from the initial, the largest being a increase or a decrease of the footprint of the proposed structure so that the full 10-foot landscape buffer could be incorporated at all areas of the property, which it was reasonably required. Additionally, the parking was modified to include some golf cart parking to deal with some tricky maneuvering situations. They still meet the required parking based on indoor and outdoor available seating. The landscape buffer has been provided in all reasonable areas. Handicap access and access to the public right-of-way is sufficient per the building inspector. Drive aisles and parking meet standards. In addition, have enough turn radius for a fire vehicle as well as a out-of-hours loading plan. And the lot size is 19,692 square feet, big enough to accommodate 2 units based on the unit density of neighborhood business. Any questions about the site plan while we're all looking at it? All right. Of the general conditions, the density falls within a standard for neighborhood business, and the proposed structure falls to setback requirements. The CUP meets all required conditions and specifications. The structure will conform with the neighboring properties as it is in the neighborhood business district, and plans are for it to be, I believe, a restaurant use. The desired future land use of that area is mixed use 1, which is, has a predominance of single family duplex and commercial uses with lower intensity, such as restaurants and commercial services and retail, and otherwise general zoning requirements. The 7 specific standards, ingress and egress, will remain via Lake Park Boulevard South, and the parking design will accommodate two-way traffic. Parking is contained on the property. Trash will be collected via a refuse container, which is located on the site plan, and I can point it out if you would like me to. Utilities will be standard through Duke and the town, as there are existing and new parking improvements require the grading of the lot so that no stormwater collects on the rear property, and all stormwater is directed towards Lake Park Boulevard South. There's currently a little bit of water collection back there, and stormwater wants that to change as we go through this process, and that's the plan at this time. There is a 10-foot landscape buffer required for this development, and that is all being provided in every reasonable area. No signage is proposed at this time, and any new signage will have to come back through the planning department and meet the required ordinance standards. The property must meet the 15 feet between structures, 10% of open space, 40% of lot coverage, and all other standard zoning. They have a 20-foot front setback. They're very far in the rear and are featuring a 10-foot side setback to accommodate the full extent of the landscape buffer. Staff recommends the approval of the proposed business CUP, and Planning and Zoning voted 5-0 in favor of the approval of the proposed business CUP. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions for staff? Would the applicant like to present?
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mic. Just for the record, the gentleman here, Mr. Roof, he is your agent?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, good evening. My name is George Pinkston. I represent Mr. Ralph Roof, the applicant tonight. I have a residence here on Pleasure Island. I have an architectural planning company in Wilmington, North Carolina. We have made every effort, as Miles has presented, to meet the required zoning ordinance, staff recommendations, commission, and the previous council and mayor recommendations. I simply ask that you consider this and am here for any questions that you may have. So, thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Thanks, George. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this CUP? Okay, I'll make a motion to close the evidentiary hearing. All in favor? Aye. Discussion? Make a motion.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Miles. You did very good tonight on both items. So we are going to move into our, we have appointments to the ad hoc committee for the beautification. I did not see the list, so I believe there's going to be some discussion from Mayor Pro Tem Healy on this committee since it is yours.
So we have 10 applicants, and my recommendation is to accept all of them. Reason being is I think we're not only going to be an advice committee, but we're going to be hands-on. So the more the merrier. And I've reviewed all the applications, and I'm personally fine with all of them.
So Jay, do you see that as 10, just to clarify, so is that 10 full voting members, or is that 9 and an alternate? I just want to make sure I understand what
It's a good point.
As an ad hoc, I don't think they have voting powers, correct?
Yes. Ad hoc votes, right? Mm-hmm, yeah.
Well, if that's the case, we need to make it.
So how would you break a tie if you got 10 people and it's a 5-5 vote?
Well, that's the case. We have to make it 9-1.
9-1.
Okay, so you're saying it'd be 9 members with 1 alternate?
It's going to have to be that way. There's
Okay.
voting.
Because you don't vote.
That's correct.
So,
We'll let you choose.
I have a question.
yes, go ahead.
Do we have a description of what our beautification committee is going to do?
We do. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me right now, but is that available, Kim, by any chance?
So, and the reason I ask is you get to a group of 10, it starts to get hard to manage, to move through. If the desire is to come up with ideas and suggestions to bring back to staff and council to say these are things that we might look at as a community to do beautification, if the intent is to actually go out and do hands-on volunteer work of beautifying the community, then 10 people is not an unreasonable amount.
Right.
of people. So I would just say, let's make sure we understand what the mission is, because we've, and getting 10 people to come up with ideas of what it means to beautify the community versus 10 people or 5 people that want to go out and 5 more that want to go out and actually do something. For example, the Island Women at one point came up with a task force, and they were able to go out and secure grants and obtained all the funding necessary to plant all the plantings on the way over the bridge. Okay, that was done a number of years ago by the Island Women. But they didn't physically plant them, right? So I'm just trying to understand and make sure that we all understand what you guys want to do.
I think it's a fair question. I really have no idea where we're going to lead with this. We're going to see what happens once we get a collective group together and discuss and make a decision at that.
And my only other question or comment to make would be that, as that committee starts formulating ideas of, quote, how to beautify Carolina Beach before actions are taken, let's come up with a plan that says this is how someone would approve that action. Whether it's the manager, it goes through a quick staff process, or if it's something substantive that you bring it back to council so that you and the rest of us can say, yeah, that's a good idea. We want to paint every flagpole to 6, or every light pole up to 6 feet high with some decorative art color. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But I'm saying, whatever those ideas are, we ought to probably bring them back.
And Steve,
That's
you make
fair.
a good point, because council is the visionary for the community. So you would have to probably present that before. I mean, I've heard a lot about murals and different paintings, so I'm not opposed to that, but I think before any of that work were to begin, we would need to bring it.
Understand completely.
Okay.
And Jay, would you be, this may be too quick, when do you see this committee meeting the first time? I'm just thinking ahead, we've got the next workshop in
Right.
March, right, where we have,
17th.
that's next week, right? Okay, never mind. I withdraw the question.
okay.
I was thinking maybe you could come back with more clarification, but that's too quick.
Jay, it looks like you got 10 ladies on this committee.
We'll let you choose the
Jay
alternate.
was the lead,
I'm a lucky guy.
like a magnet. Comes from raising all
Bless
these
you.
girls.
Okay, so Jay, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion that the 10 applicants for the beautification committee get approved.
But
Well,
we need
who's going to be the
who's the alternate?
alternate?
We'll let you make that call.
Yeah, big guy.
There you go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Do any of them have any restrictions, particularly work, or, that they might not attend? Or?
We can make Karen Graybush the alternate.
Okay. And that's a good question, because
That's Jay's call, Karen.
do we look to see if these are on other committees? So that would be a good reason to be an alternate. Yeah. Okay. So would you make that motion again?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the 9 voting members and the 1 alternate for the beautification committee.
And Karen Bush would be the alternate.
That's correct.
Okay. Motion on the floor. All in favor? Aye. All right. Very good. And congratulations to those people on the beautification committee. Kim will get you an email and let you know when your first meeting is. We can't wait to see what you're going to do. So we'll move into non-agenda items, and I'll start that out. Mayor Benson has given me some information to pass along to you guys. He's still representing us on that committee. April 1 is the first day for the census. You should receive something in the mail by April 1. You can go online, by phone, or by mail. You may see some people coming to your door. If you're like me, you don't answer your front door. So go online and fill that out. It's very important. A couple of reasons, a couple things you need to know about this. You're counted where you usually reside, and I'm just going to tell you, it's probably the same as your voting record. It's probably, where you live 6 months, 6.1 months of the time. So that's your legal residence, wherever you consider your legal residence. College students are counted at the location of their school. There are just a few questions, and they're secure. So this is a secure site when you're answering these questions. And one of the important parts of this is the census will determine how many seats we'll get in Congress. And so we need that, and that will affect how we will be represented in different, the state and different areas and funding and grants and things like that we would qualify for. So it's very important that you do that. And it also provides the data for our redistricting. So depending on our population in Carolina Beach, we've already been redistricted. One time, separated from 20 now, so we could be redistricted again. We talked about that. The employment opportunities with the census is huge, so we invite you to go to 2020.census.gov on April 1st. How about our billboard?
Yep, we showed a slide earlier. Yeah, Jeremy and staff have created a nice logo that'll be run on the billboard. I don't know when it starts, but
Yeah, we can send that in tomorrow.
And if you could put maybe, and I don't see an end date here, and I know there is one beginning date and an end date.
It was in July, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know the end date, so, but don't procrastinate, just get it done. So, okay, that's all I've got on non-agenda items. Guys?
Curious, last year we originally started talking about the tree ordinance. I know it kind of went away for a while, so that's something I'd like to see where we're at and if we can kind of roll and pick that back up again. Second thing is that now we're starting to kick off into spring. I don't know if everyone noticed, but this past weekend was busy. The weekend before was busy, so our season is starting to prepare. So a recommendation is that we need to prepare our residents for not only for spring and summer, but for hurricane season. With that being said, I think ideally our fire department, our police department should maybe make little friendly videos. Hey, make sure we're checking our fire alarms. Make sure you understand how to properly lock up your bikes, how to keep them on your golf carts, because during the summer times, we do have a handful of things that randomly wander away that necessarily aren't from our residents. So now's the time to kind of get everybody re-prepared. Tying that into our new awesome website is those videos we could always just put right there on the front, tied into the Facebook, tied right there, so that way, like, once a week or every 2 weeks, we just have a new video that kind of pops out and says, hey guys, hope your week's going awesome, really quick. Does everyone really remember what riptides are? Do you know what to do in case of that? Have you checked your fire alarm? Pressure in your car when you go on Freedom Park? All of just a little random things that I think are just quick reminders that we don't necessarily always think about, but they're in the back of our mind.
That's a good point. And we used to have videos on our website in the past, so that's a good idea to do that again. I know we may still have access to some of that. Guys?
Yes. So along those same lines, we have a workshop next week, right? Okay, so if possible, can we get some general idea of spring cleaning and season startup? It's around the corner. Bruce, of course, has familiarity with Southport and the beach season, but here at Carolina Beach, whether it's those blue trash cans getting back out, the beach crossovers need to be cleaned up, the parking areas tidied up, street ends, we've got abandoned cars on street ends, the town signs, consistently making sure our town signs are up and going. You know, whether at the marina or at the parks or at our greenway, street lights. Can we just double check and make sure we got street lights that are working here, especially down at the boardwalk area? Same with the street signs. We just did a nice remake of the boardwalk planting areas on both sides, which really was a big improvement. Thank you, staff. But along those lines, we always hear about, we spent $1 million building a boardwalk. What are we doing to maintain it? Are we staining it this year? There's a bunch of those light fixtures that have now had 5 or 6 years of weather, and you go down there and the paint's worn off of them. So I'd ask if you guys could come up with a plan, Ed, of all those checklists, just to remind us of all the things you guys have to do. You know, the bike racks we talked about earlier, lifeguard schedules, just that general, hey, there's a lot that happens between now and Easter.
Right.
And then once that happens, staff is
too
going to
late.
be buried doing all that other stuff.
And to Steve's point, that's exactly what happened last year, and I know we had some hurricane issues, but it got too late, so it has to be done this month. So, and to add to that, the benches, are we painting those benches this year? That didn't happen, so they look a little rough. So the swings and the benches, add to that.
Also, we do have some bike racks that bikes have been parked there for months and months and months, and they need to be disposed of.
So it's that general spring cleaning, and I know that's a lot, but I did that, Bruce, mostly to let you know that this time of year, as you know, it's a new season around here. Once summer comes, staff is so overwhelmed with just taking care of the influx of new visitors we have, our first responders. It's just a different lifestyle, and so between now and then.
So Steve's saying 3 weeks.
I'm saying if you or Ed could just say, hey, this is the checklist, this is kind of our schedule, this is when we think, because I'm getting, you know,
random
notice
everything in.
from a couple of residents saying, hey, please don't forget to do the boardwalk this year.
Right.
What are we doing to clean the bubble gum off of the sidewalk?
And I think you'll find every business in town is scrambling right now because they know the same thing.
We'll have
Come
something
April
for you.
1st, can't do it.
We'll have a checklist and plan for you on
Thank you.
Tuesday.
And the only other thing I have is what are we doing about the flashing lights on our stop sign, trail crossings between our roads and our greenway? Did we address that issue? And how are we doing that? Because we do have, I mean, I was out there myself and, you know, cars come down those streets and someone's gonna get hit. I don't know how we.
Tell me what you're talking about.
Spartanburg, Ocean.
Because I've walked the Greenway a couple times this past week, and they're working, if that's
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
one thing
asking.
when you walk, you have plenty of.
But you
advances.
must
Catch the
stop.
car.
If you're on that Greenway, you must stop. You can't just fly through it. Well, I mean, I
For the
understand.
bicyclists and skateboarders, yeah. So
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
must.
how
I
you're
do.
gonna it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, you know, we,
Put spikes that they have to swerve around.
You can take the CNIs and move them further up the road, up path.
So it kicks on.
They put the signage up, and they put the bigger stop signs.
You can look at it with Hoffer.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'll bring that up to Bike Ped. I think we meet next week. And I will just bring up one thing that I forgot, Bruce. Jay and I attended a Boardwalk owners meeting, and they would like, and I think we could do this pretty easy. They did talk about the employee park, and we've addressed that tonight. They need an area to load and unload supplies. That's on my, let me look at my list here. I would suggest, and I told them that I believe that if everybody honors it and you don't park there and stay for 4 hours, you know, it should be okay if you pull up and unload your stuff for your business and then you leave. Maybe they could have some kind of a hang tag that says boardwalk on or unloading. But I was thinking, I don't know, I'm throwing this at you. I was thinking over there by the dumpster. They're not going to be able to do it on Thursday night because I know the music and fireworks people use that area. But just think about that. You know, maybe the rest of the week they could load and unload from some designated area.
Didn't we give them a time? We said they could go do it. I mean, 'cause
Early
David
morning,
brought that
yeah.
up. We gave them a specific time that said they could drive down there and unload. They just
I don't. They're not driving their trucks down there though. I think what I heard from, say, for instance, Buzz's Roost and those kind of places is they're going to come up maybe, I don't know, in the afternoon after they've made a run somewhere. But they'd like, if they could find a place just to park, they would park and wheel the stuff to their businesses. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
I don't think that's a bad idea to have a designated loading and unloading for them, but they can't sit there for, I mean, it needs to be 30 minutes or something like that. And then another owner could use that space. Isn't that what we discussed, Jay?
That's correct. Probably by the dumpsters over there.
I was thinking by the dumpsters and just tell them Thursday nights they're not going to be able to do it. I can tell you that because I know that's where the music truck parks. So just throwing that out, and maybe they could have a hang tag or something that says Boardwalk Business Owner, CBD Business Owner Unloading. I don't know.
Or you
There,
can put a sign up.
there is the Raleigh loading unloading area designated.
Stansbury, I just had a conversation, he's gonna put that hanging on the asphalt, I think this week or next week, so that wall where the old Ashford Hotel is on Raleigh, that whole wall forms probably 60 feet or better is when we were.
You mean on Raleigh?
On Raleigh is loading and unloading. Yeah, it's going to be designated.
So I know Tim said, Bruce, I'll just tell you this, Tim said he had a list of all the Boardwalk owners' emails. Would you get with him and maybe shoot that out to them? Copy us would be great too, so we'll stay in the loop.
I think you should give Lynn the credit for that though, because.
Thank you.
Parking.
Good job, Lynn.
Do you remember anything else from that meeting? They asked us to bring to council. But that was the parking path.
And we do have bike racks that are in the middle of the main aisle.
Did they get moved?
That need to be moved.
Sorry, the bike racks got,
You know,
This may be an Ed question. Ed, when we look into getting new vehicles, the company that we're contracted to acquire these vehicles from, are we always getting new models? Are we looking for what's the best solution for that position? To give you an idea, I pulled up to town hall the other day. One of our employees' new vehicle looked like it was a $45,000 vehicle. For that position, this employee was, it doesn't even be said out loud, it could have just been a Chevy S10 from like 1994. I pulled up next to him, like, why would we spend this much for this position when realistically we should be thinking, okay, if we do need vehicle, is either that contract or just say not do it and just go buy something off Craigslist?
We do. We look at different vendors. State contract is what we normally look at, but we are looking at some options. I think Thursday, we're looking at some additional vending options.
I think we need to aggressively look even better, because
Sure.
it was eye-opening to pull up next to this vehicle and see a $45,000 vehicle for an employee that vehicle itself should have been a 94 Toyota pickup.
It could be a good topic for budget.
Or workshop or during our budget
Yeah, the budgeting
process. Okay. Yeah, that was all I had. So if you would shoot them an email, let them know where that's going to be, and you might as well go ahead and let them know about the employee pass in that email. So anything else, guys? I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.